everyone. I am Sister Joy with Bump the Triangle, and I am excited for our very first interview of this season. Our 2021 Winter Art Auction is going on right now. You can see the wonderful work at bit.ly/bump auction 21. And we have a series of artist talks for you this week leading up to the close of that auction. You still have 7 days to see the platform. bit.ly/bump auction 21. Bump the Triangle centers music of the African diaspora, reconnects youth by heritage to our cultural practices and our music. We're grooming youth for three ensembles: our Ubuntu ambassadors, who are 9 and younger, our Anansi apprentices, who are 9 and younger, our Ubuntu ambassadors, who are 9 and older, and of course, our Fahari leaders, all of them studying instruments anywhere from clarinets and violins and trumpets and saxophones to our traditional West African instruments, our balafons and our djembes and our African drums. And we're also going to be doing steel pans. So we're going the gamut across the diaspora, and they're learning from culture bearers. So this auction is going to help us continue to do that. It's going to help us to put instruments in the hands of youth who are from economically disadvantaged households, historically marginalized communities. It's going to help us bring more of this culture, more of this content, more of these instruments to these populations of youth. So we really appreciate how you have supported us in the past, and we really look forward to your support well into the future. So again, I am Sister Joy, and I am going to introduce our co-chair of our board of directors, Miss Zawadi B. Walker. I'll bring her in now to the stream. Miss Zawadi B. Walker is going to be interviewing our guest artist, Stephen Cozart, in just a few minutes. And Zawadi, how you doing?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good.
So I said we're just gonna have a conversation today. We're just gonna talk like we always do,
All right now.
and I'm really excited about the guest that we're bringing on. He was a big support last year. You will find his work extremely provocative and beautiful. And so he was with us last year, and he's supporting us again this year. And we really appreciate having him here. You're going to really admire his work. So go check it out if you haven't seen it already. And we're going to talk about one of his pieces today that he's allowing us to feature in this year's auction. So with no further ado, I'm going to introduce Mr. Stephen Cozart to the stream.
Hi,
How's everybody
Stephen.
doing? How you guys doing this evening?
Doing well, thank you. Doing well. How about yourself?
I am very thankful for our break. I'm a public school teacher as well. It's been a
Ooh,
lot, and looking forward to Christmas break.
well, thank you. Thank you. I just laughed because you're already looking forward to the next break. I understand the work that you as a public school educator, the struggles that you're doing. I mean, the struggles that you're going through. I understand, and I want to thank you.
I appreciate
Yes,
it.
thank you
I
for that.
appreciate it.
Yes. All
Well,
right. Oh,
good people, I'm here, and I'm going to be here the whole time. I'm going to pull myself out of the stream so that we can see you and talk to you. And if I pop in and ask a question, don't mind me. But I'm going to sneak out, but I'm going to still be here, so I'm not going anywhere.
sounds good, Sister Joy.
All
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Pop in. All right, Stephen. So thank you very much for your feature, your contribution to Bump's art auction this year. Thank you for supporting the future of Black culture. I read your bio, but I still want to ask that number one question that most people ask. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am born and raised in Durham, actually. Graduated from Durham High School, made my way to art school in Greenville, East Carolina. Moved here to Greensboro in '95. First job I ever got was at a I don't know how they say it now. Terms have changed so much. I
Hmm.
was at a highly impacted school that was a majority minority population, and actually getting there, I met my future wife, who we've been married now since '97. raised a daughter here, and I'm actually getting to the point where I'll be retiring from teaching in a couple of years.
Oh, all right. Very good. I'm based in Durham, North Carolina, so my ears sparked up when you stated that. So you talked about where you grew up, where you are now, what you do. So explain to us how you got into to art.
So I've always had an interest. I'm one of six siblings, and my older siblings were all creatives. In particular, my older brother Johnny. He's only about 3 years older than me. He was the person I tagged along with the most, and
Hmm.
so because it was an interest for him, it also was an interest for me, and I've done it my entire life. And decided because I didn't feel as if I was getting the best treatment for a particular class I was taking in college. Um, and I remember kind of having this conversation with myself that, hey, I wish that I wish that the instructors would talk to me in a certain way, would try to reach me. I did have some great instructors. It was
Hmm.
only this one particular class that I was just not happy with, and that made me kind of gravitate towards teaching, and I've been teaching ever since.
Okay, okay. So let's go into this the piece that is featured in our auction. It shouldn't matter, Alex. Tell us, yeah, just tell us about this piece. What inspired it? Yeah, we'll just start there.
So I have a body of work that I started. Oh my gosh, it's been almost 10 years ago. Um, I wanted to start dealing with cultural things inside the African American community. Recently, a friend of mine asked me to define what it is, what question I'm trying to answer in its simplest terms.
Hmm.
And in its simplest terms, my concern within the African American community is how do we treat each other? And so, one of the things I began to realize were some of the systems that are in place with how we interact with each other. And one of them is colorism. Um, I knew about this because my mother told me about it, but I wasn't aware that other Black folk didn't know about it. There's
Hmm.
such a thing called the paper bag test,
Mm-hmm.
where a person may be judged or placed in certain social settings based solely upon skin tone. So you compare a brown paper bag to their skin. If they're lighter, depending on the social setting, maybe they're more accepted. If they're darker than the bag, maybe they're excluded. Um, and it's funny, these works come from conversations and interviews. That's why I pull a lot of the source material. And usually my first question in an interview, it's all recorded and I take pictures, that sort of thing, is have you heard of the paper bag test?
Mm-hmm.
And to my surprise, more often than not, people say no. But once I explain what it is, they go, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. I may not know a specific name for it, but I understand that caste system within the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so this piece in particular is a part of a body of about, I said it about 8 images, um, in grayscale to compare to the bag itself to make the statement that it shouldn't matter what your skin tone is. It shouldn't cause judgment or classification within the community.
True, true. That is powerful, powerful. This brings up all sorts of questions. As a public school educator, what subject do you teach?
Oh, I teach visual art and computer
Visual.
graphics.
Okay. 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 All right. Wow. Okay. So you mentioned grayscale. As I look at this your work of art, is can you describe like what I guess it would be like what medium you used in this? Is this pencil? Is it paint?
This particular piece would be considered mixed media. It's acrylic ink, it's charcoal, pastel. The paper bag in there is actually a piece of paper bag that's been
Oh,
collaged into the piece. Charcoal, pastel. Yep. It takes me a minute to remember everything sometimes, but yeah.
now is that charcoal, pastel, acrylic? Is that how you create most of your art, or is it a variety?
So, a few things. I as this has evolved, I have started experimenting more and more with different things. Collage and assemblage, where you take pieces and kind of refigure and reconstruct them. That's kind of creeped into my work quite a bit over the last several years. I would say this would be the beginning of it, where I really wanted to include a real piece of paper bag and then just
Hmm.
kind of draw my patterns on top of it. I started off in grayscale in part because I'm actually colorblind.
Oh, okay.
But I do paint. And keep in mind that this body work, like I said, started about 10 years ago. And about the time it started is when I started really trying to figure out a system for painting.
Hmm.
And now I actually do paint quite a bit. I think I actually paint more than draw. And so this was kind of a beginning of that.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. Breaking barriers, so to speak. Artist who's colorblind. Glad you didn't let that hold you back. Um, what is your favorite time of day to create?
For me, if I had my way, it'd be first thing in the morning.
Okay.
But being a public school teacher, I have to, get it in when I can.
Right.
So what happens is I didn't bring it in here with me, but what I'll do is early morning staff meetings, that sort of thing. Um, I will actually sit and plan and draw during staff meetings. I actually listen better that way. I actually remember more. Um,
Okay.
but I will do detailed drawings there, and then I have a studio here at home where I'll go and take my ideas. I'll use my computer, use my scanner, enlarge them, get them onto the canvas, onto the board, onto whatever surface or substrate I'm working on,
Hmm.
and work from there. And so what happens is, even though my ideal time would be the morning, it's usually late at night after going to work and doing the family thing and everything
Right.
else that goes along with that. So
Life. Yes,
yes,
I
yes,
get
ma'am.
it.
Life.
I get it.
Exactly.
So, Stephen, how do you choose your theme? You mentioned that during staff meetings, you might start there. Is it something that do you hear in a staff meeting, or yeah? How do you choose your themes?
Well, odd story about that. I am very good friends with Professor Roy Carter. He's the head of the visual art department at A&T State
Hmm.
University, and he moved here to Greensboro about 2010, 2011. People were telling me, "Oh, you got to meet this guy. He's a real cool guy." And apparently, at the same time, people were telling him the same thing. So we
Okay.
finally run into each other at an art show, start having a conversation, hit it off famously, and got to be really good friends. Got to be the kind of good friends that could be honest. And yeah, it might hurt your feelings, but you'll get over it. That kind of honest. And so early on, he was like, "Hey, you're working. You're an established artist. Do you have a body of work?" And I said, "No, I'm not interested in making work on a subject." And he got on me and told me to grow
Mm.
up and get a body of work. And so I sucked it up and started thinking about. I actually started researching because this is the one thing I had never been taught. Somehow this was missed. I never really been taught what a body of work really meant. So,
Mm.
in the age of the internet, I sat down, started reading about bodies of work, what they meant, what they entailed, and I thought if I'm going to spend a significant amount of time working on something, I want to talk about something that matters to me. I just don't want to make work for the work's sake.
Hmm.
Around that time, several things had been happening. There was I can't remember the name of it, but I know that CNN did a very good documentary regarding skin tone. I don't know that the term colorism had been popular yet, but they did talk about the brown paper bag test.
Mm.
And I was surprised that people didn't know because, oh, I didn't realize this was news, assuming that everybody had heard what I heard growing up. And so that was like, that's something I want to talk about. I want to talk about how we treat each other in the community, and what that means, and how some of what we're doing are influenced by outside forces. And so that's how I came across dealing with colorism in the beginning. I didn't even know that there was a term for it. There's a very, very intelligent Dr. Sarah Webb. She has a website, Colorism Healing.
Goodness.
And that's part of her work is that she deals with and delves into colorism. Um, I had the good fortune of being able to talk with her on a few occasions, collaborate with her, um, and then I started interviewing people about it. That's how I pulled my source material.
Mm-hmm.
In those interviews, other subjects came up. There's such a thing called texturism,
Wow.
which basically is social status based on hair texture. There's a conversation that came up that repeated itself with men about a relationship between skin tone and masculinity within the black community. Now, when I do this work, if other groups are listening, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But my work, in my opinion, I am talking about and addressing our community. Um, I want to talk to us.
Right.
Other people have shown interest and listened in. There have been people from other ethnic groups who will see the work and go, some will say, I didn't realize this was going on. Others will talk about things within their culture that have a similar background.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the impetus of the work that I want to talk to us about how we treat each other.
Wow, that is powerful. I'll say I'm a trained historian, and yes, and also one of my experiences as a teenager brought the brown paper bag test to the forefront, just in the situation that it was. But I have never heard of texturism.
It was new
um,
for me too.
yeah, I wrote that down, and we'll definitely look that up. So just goodness, I have so many questions to so many more questions to ask and a lot more research to do. But I want to touch on what you shared about your work of your art is is for African Americans. So for someone who is, in a sense looking to is who's bidding on your piece, who's looking to put this in their home or in their place of work, um, what would you like to share with them as they purchase your piece of work?
Now, when I say that it's for us, is that's kind
Hmm.
of in the subject is addressing some of the issues and concerns in the community.
Right.
However, I hope that everybody, regardless of ethnic group, would look at the work and be able to appreciate some of it, or be
Right.
able to appreciate what it's talking about.
Hmm.
If someone were to purchase it, I would hope that they would do research and not just hang quote unquote a pretty little picture, that
Right.
they would be able to understand the significance of what's being explained about how it's just a very odd caste system.
Hmm.
Because it has its roots in, believe it or not, in slavery.
Mm.
I think that's where colorism is rooted. I think that in order to make a thing better or to stop a thing, you have to get to the root of that thing.
Right.
And so that's what we got to understand, in my opinion.
Hmm. Powerful, powerful. Well, Stephen, thank you very much for your time. And um, just as a final question, if you have anything else that you would like to share with me or our viewers, just want to give you the stage to do so.
A couple things. One, I
Mhm.
noted a question that popped up while we were talking.
Okay.
Have Black
Ah,
historians and sociologists embraced you at all? And the answer would be actually yes. I had the blessing and good fortune actually of receiving the Lang Taylor Prize from Duke University,
wow.
from their Center of Documentary Studies. Um, applied for
Congratulations.
applied for that, not really quite understanding what it meant. And then once I got it, Duke has been very gracious and very embracing. Um, and dealing with them was the first time I'd ever thought of myself as a documentarian. Um, and then as they approached me, and like I said, just good people to work with. Courtney Reed Eaton, excellent woman to work with, just helped a lot. The other thing I would like to mention is that if you want to see more of the work, there's several exhibitions around the state of North Carolina and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have a piece up at the Southeastern Center for Contemporary Art, SICA, in Winston-Salem. It's part of the Black at Intersection exhibition, curated by guest curator Dwayne Cyrus. Um, I actually have work at the Siegel Museum, that's up in Pennsylvania. It's part of the Petrucci Foundation for African American Arts collection. Uh, if you don't want to travel that far and you're in Durham, there's an exhibition opening in January at the Nasher. I, I am drawing a blank on what the name is exactly right now. I'm so sorry. But they will open in January. I do know that.
Okay.
And if you're interested in any other collections, there is an exhibition here in Greensboro called Winter Show at the Green Hill Center for North Carolina Art. That actually has, out of the half dozen pieces I put in, five of those pieces are actually paintings.
Hmm.
If you'd like to see some paintings.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I will definitely try my best to get out to both Durham and Greensboro to see your art, and I encourage others to do the same.
Thank you, ma'am.
Joy, we can't hear you.
I wanted to pop back in and just to say thank you again. Um, Stephen has been a wonderful supporter of our art auction and our fundraiser for the youth and Bump the Triangle. And we appreciate having you every single time. We can't say thank you enough for, first of all, for the work and then for allowing us to add this work, you know. So the artists, when they are submitting their work for the auction, those proceeds, part of those proceeds are coming right back to Bump. So we really appreciate them being able to do that. That's a beautiful gesture on the artist's part, and we love the arts. So
Indeed.
it's
Thank you.
wonderful to have these artists.
Well,
Thank you
thank you.
so
I
much.
appreciate you guys having me.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you, Zawadi.
Thank you.
And if you are watching, we will be back at what time, Zawadi?
6:30.
At 6:30. Well, talking to another artist. So see you in a few.
All right.